sole owners of the company, but then you've got somebody over here and they are doing the coding for your app. So what we want to make sure is that the coding for the app is put into the company. And so want to understand all the people who touch upon your business so that we can make sure that you have the appropriate legal relationship with them to protect yourself. Who are the founders? What are the responsibilities? How are they compensated? So the founder questions, and for the founders are people I characterize as the entity is their baby, is kind of for lack of a better term, but they're the people who are going to be making the decisions, determining what our goals are for the clinic, and basically just running and operating the business. So again, if it's like you and a partner, I'd call you founders. If you come to me and say, look, it's me and my partner, and then we've got the person doing the app development, and we're going to give them 5% of the company, I wouldn't necessarily call them a founder. I think it'd really be you and the partner that are founders. This distinction is important from our perspective because, we can treat the person who's kind of an outsider a little bit differently from the one we have as an insider, which would be one of the founders. What are the responsibilities? So you want to understand between you and your co-founders, who does what. And again, if you're by yourself, this is kind of easy. You're not going to have a conversation. But as soon as you get one more person in there, you need to start having these conversations, and you should have them early. One of my little sayings is, no one gets married planning to get a divorce. And formation and entrepreneurship is like that, right? Everyone comes into an experience. They're like, hey, this is going to be the best company. We've got these great ideas. We've got great talented people. Let's bring this together and we're all going to be successful. And that's everyone's, happy. We're there at day one. And then a year passes and people's priorities change. And maybe, someone's no longer interested in putting in these long hours to form a new business. They would rather surf. Or maybe there's a different opportunity and they want to pursue that. And so you want to understand upfront, what's the expectation for everybody? Because if you kind of kick that down the line, you say, oh, don't worry, we're friends. We'll figure it out in the future. Inevitably, what happens is the relationships change over time, and the kind of understanding you thought you had, can quickly deviate. You might have thought, hey, we're going to split everything 50-50. And maybe the other person thought, well, we're going to start out 50-50, but then over time, my role is more important than your role. And therefore, I expect I will have an increase. You want to have those conversations early. You want to understand what each person expects and kind of what you're going to be building towards. And this is especially important, too, if you've got kind of, a few smaller people. So if it's you and the partner are the big, owners, or maybe you're the big owner, and then we've got a couple smaller people over here, same concept. What are these people contributing to the value of the company that justifies their ownership? So those are some of the things, you want to think about when you're doing this. And so kind of on a related point, what happens if someone bails? If you and your co-founder get divorced, you're no longer getting along, what's the default? And if you wait until the person leaves, the challenge is a lot of times at that point, the goodwill of the relationship has been expended. And so now you're dealing with someone that you're not really happy with, and they're not really happy with you. And when you've got two unhappy people, it's hard to get an agreement, right? That's where you can go to litigation. You're going to have a judge come in and say, okay, this is the agreement. But that's an expensive route, and it's not a route you want to go down. So again, early on in the process, you need to make sure that you understand what you're going to do. Now, one of the tools that we use is vesting. And so I would always encourage anybody, and again, this advice is if you're a solo person, this is your company, this is a lot less relevant. But as soon as we get another person involved, you want to think about vesting. So what is vesting? Basically, what we do with vesting is we're saying, hey, the people who own the company, their ownership isn't fully baked at this point. So let's say that it's you and your partner, and you're actually the lion's share, and the partner is kind of doing maybe the marketing, but you have the vision. So you're going to own 60% of the company, and the partner is going to own 40% of the company. That's great. That's great. And then if the founder, if the partner leaves the next day and you don't have vesting in place, then they walk away with 40% of the company. So if you wanted to bring in a new founder, the only thing that can happen is you would dilute yourself and the old founder. And so you basically went from 60% and a 40% partner to, you issue some more, let's say you do 10% to somebody else. And now all of a sudden, you're at 54%, and the former founder is at 30 something percent. And so you've diluted yourself, and this former partner is just there taking away your ownership and not contributing to the value of the business. It's not a great situation to be in. So the vesting is a way to deal with that, because what vesting says is, look, I own 60%, my co-founder owns 40%, but if we leave the company, then some of that ownership goes back or goes away. And the usual way to do this is we do 4-year vesting with a 1-year cliff. And so what that means is, the short version is, you don't own your full ownership interest until 4 years have passed. So and then the way the 1-year cliff is that's kind of a try it out period. So the 1-year cliff says nothing vests for 1 year. So today you get an equity ownership. It's 100 shares. All of those shares could be rebought if you left the company. So you don't want to lose those shares. That's very valuable stuff. You're going to build this business. So you stick around. All 100 shares are subject to this repurchase right. You have not vested in them for 1 year. You hit 1 year, boom, 25% of those shares vest. So now you own 25 shares. So if you leave after 1 year, then you will be able to keep the 25 shares. The company can buy back the 75. And when I say buy back, the company is going to pay a very nominal price, because when you issued the shares, you paid a nominal price. So don't think of it as the person gets cashed out on the part of their shares that are unvested. If the company's increased in value, then those shares are going to be bought back at a substantial discount to their actual value. So the 1-year cliff says no vesting until 1 year has passed. And then after that 1-year cliff, the shares would vest monthly. And so after 13 months, your ownership of vested shares increases. And after 15 months, it increases, and so on. And again, the reason why we have that 1-year cliff is that's your try it out period. Because if things go south within the first year, and a lot of times they do, right? A lot of times, like, the relationship seems good on paper, but you get into it and immediately, the first challenge is beyond, it's an idea. Let's file paperwork to, oh gosh, I've got to talk to all these people and do all this work and look at all these numbers and look at this coding and make sure everything is running. This is overwhelming, right? That's going to happen pretty early in the process. So if somebody, can't make it through the first year, you want to be able to have them leave without retaining any ownership. And then after that, you vest monthly. Now, again, keep in mind though, as lawyers, one of our things we do is we're preparing our clients for kind of the worst case situations. So a lot of times clients say, oh, it's okay, we're going to work out in the future, we're going to trust these guys. And that's fine. I don't discourage trusting other humans, but my job is the opposite of that. My job is to distrust other humans on your behalf. And so if you say, we'll work this out, I'll say, maybe. I don't know if you want to take that chance. But the point is this is the default structure we would advise putting in place. If you've got somebody, they've been amazing and they've just been doing this great work, but they're getting married and their wife has a killer New York job and they're going to go to New York. And now that person who was very, very valuable for these first 6 months is leaving the company. You might decide that, they contributed so much value. I think they should get to keep some of their shares. And so I'll let them keep something even though they're not vested. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I want you protected if the opposite situation occurs, which is after 6 months, the person is a total train wreck. You want to get rid of them. They're holding you back. And yet here they are with shares of your company that you no longer control and that are going to limit your ability to find and retain talent in the future. So I'm looking out for the train wreck. But if you end up in the happy situation, things are good, and you want to do something better than what we've put in the documents, that's fine with me. That's absolutely fine. Pause again. Questions? All right.